The program tonight, the mainstream media won't report this, but I'll tell you the question that every poll is missing. Why are we not getting the truth from our political polls? Also, the man behind Aurora, the company that is changing the game when it comes to retail crime. These guys, they're Kiwis, they're stopping the thieves before they pinch the groceries worldwide. And they're here in the studio. And will the Herald apologise for getting something terribly wrong? I'll explain shortly. Welcome to the podcast.
Are we paying these people to front up, or are we paying them to fly to Wellington to eat their lunch? Should you really lose your career for refusing to take part in a 90-minute lesson about Māori culture? This government doesn't actually have any idea how to get economic growth. Show us what you made of, Prime Minister.
Editor-in-Chief with Duncan, Garner.
Okay, welcome to the program. Good to have you along. You're with the Editor-in-Chief, and I'm Duncan, Garner. Nice to have you here, and please subscribe. It always helps us stay around, so thank you so much. The question we need to ask in our polls if we want accuracy. That's tonight's issue. And also Phil Thomson, the Kiwi behind one of the smartest and fastest growing companies in the world. He's here with me on the podcast. And the shameful reporting of the New Zealand Herald. Will they put it right? I think they have to. Let's go.
It's the Slam Dunk.
Okay, the political polls will be confusing for many people. We had two polls this week, national leads in the Varian One News poll, and Labour's ahead in the Taxpayers Union poll. The first one, the results in a national-led government. Okay? The other is a hung parliament where no one can govern. Luxon is down personally in all of them. That's about the most consistent finding in all these polls, actually. So what's going on? Which one's accurate? It's a snapshot in time, right? 1,000 people at any one time. I've always argued that the polls are never wrong because it's a snapshot in time. But clearly, given the huge concerns over the direction of the economy and the faltering support for Chris Luxon and how close the Labour bloc is to National and its mates, these polls are hugely relevant to the political strategists in all these parties. It gives voters also an idea of who's doing well and who isn't. Numbers, names, up and down arrows everywhere. It can be hard to comprehend. I get that. It's likely most voters are only semi-engaged at this stage. But the pollsters are asking the wrong question. It's totally the wrong question. And it may well be giving us a result that does not reflect how people around New Zealand will vote. Under MMP, you govern in coalitions. And it's become clear the two sides vying for power at the next election. On one side, Christopher Luxon, Winston Peters, David Seymour, there we go. On the other hand, or the other side, you can't separate Labour from the Greens and Te Pāti Māori. For Labour to govern, they will need to have both those parties in coalition. So that's the question that should be asked, right? That's the question. Do you want a Luxon, Peters, Seymour government, or do you want Hipkins, Chloe Swarbrick, Marama Davidson, Rawiri Waititi and Debbie Ngāti-Wapaka? Do you want that administration in office? The real question is who scares you the most or the least. Design the question how you like it. But I'd go with, okay, which of these two potential coalitions are you likely to vote for? Not will you vote National or Labour, but which of these coalitions will you vote for? It's an entirely different question. And once you lump them in with each other, it gives voters a far more realistic question, a realistic poll question. So it makes you think you're not just voting for Labour. You must now consider a Deputy Prime Minister, say Deputy Prime Minister Chloe Swarbrick, or Deputy Prime Minister Rawiri Waititi, maybe a job share perhaps. Maybe Debbie Ngāti-Wapaka sees herself as a Deputy Prime Minister material. Who knows? But for a party that ignores the rules of Parliament and carries MPs like Taika Te Whereas, who openly walks around giving the bird to the institution of Parliament, I can't see how they'll last 5 minutes in a colonial Western-style government. They're sort of set up like that with collective responsibility around the cabinet table. In other words, they can't split the dummy like they've done before. Every time it doesn't go to plan, they can't split the dummy. Now, do you want to vote Labour as much as you did before? Does the Māori Party worry you? Can they be trusted to see 3 years through? What is their price of support? What is their major policy? The Greens, we know, want $88 billion in new taxes, wealth taxes, the lot. Now, does that impress you as they'll be Labour's bum bag for 3 years as well? Chloe Swarbrick, Deputy PM, maybe? Hence, she couldn't even answer questions about her own budget recently. How's she going to go in government? But it's a entirely different question, isn't it, when you ask, do you want Labour in or do you want Labour with its mates in? That's the question. We haven't done this properly. So voters must consider that they're voting for a coalition bloc. Simply presenting them with one party option is not being truthful about the reality of MMP. The polls are misleading. Likewise, you don't just get Christopher Luxon. You are lucky enough to get David Seymour and everything he stands for and stands against, and Winston Peters and his approach to politics. So it's a question of those two groups. Now, who are you most likely to vote for, or who scares you the most? It's way more honest and likely to get a far more accurate result. Over the next year, the number of polls will ramp up as we get closer to the election. There's no doubt about that. And surely they have to turn the question around. The thing is, Polls, whether you like it or not, are extremely influential in politics. And to get this wrong, if indeed it is wrong, can be seriously damaging and seriously misleading for the New Zealand public. It might be an entirely different result if you ask the question my way. There's no doubt Luxon's unpopular, but is Chris Hipkins really that popular? What's he done? When you stand him next to Deputy Ngāti Wapaka, Chloe Swarbrick, how do you view him now? National's relying on voters getting that picture without it having to spell it out, but I personally think the softly lame approach is wrong. Luxon should make it clear to the New Zealand people that Hipkins has a choice to ditch the Māori Party, but he's decided to keep them and keep them close. Luxon should be hammering this home. Use your advantage. Show people what it looks like. Former MP Stuart Nash thinks Labour needs to distance itself from Te Pāti Māori. And I've got to say this, have people got short memories or forgotten why they kicked Labour out just 18 months ago? Do you trust them? We don't even know what they stand for anymore. They haven't said sorry. They haven't shown any humility. They haven't rolled out policy. They've done nothing but moan and oppose. No fresh blood, same old leader. And the noose around his neck comes from the Greens and Te Pāti Māori. Despite Labour having no new policy, and it'll come, but nothing at the moment, they want more taxes, and there's hints of new taxes there as well. The Greens are basically economic vandals with their loopy idea to raise $88 billion in new taxes. I mean, they would bankrupt us. We've gone. We're off to Australia or wherever, anywhere but here. New Zealand would empty out really fast. And who knows what Te Pāti Māori want? I mean, they're so busy being angry about the white man, so busy being angry about Parliament's protocols, so busy being angry about colonisation, so busy being angry having to work inside a Western democracy. Although I note Deputy Ngāti Wapaka had no problem in that Western democracy chalking up the largest travel bill of any MP last year. Clearly there are some perks the treaty partner brought to the table, and that's the Wakadilidangi, the aeroplane that these MPs fly around in. With the size of Ngāti Wapaka's bill, we wonder whether she spent any time with her feet on the ground last year. But if you're voting Labour, you have to focus in on who will support the incoming government, and the Greens and Te Pāti Māori are one of the same. They'll have huge shopping lists, and I doubt they'll go quietly. They'll have a price for their support. I sat in a shop yesterday in Ponsapi and overheard a fascinating story. A Chinese property developer who owns truckloads of homes, because I overheard what he talked about, telling his mate how he wants to levy all these different people in Auckland, all these 200,000 homes or whatever, and get an election fighting fund of $30 million ready. It's $10 million more than all the parties spent on advertising at the last election. He wants to get that money together to knock out the chances of Labour, the Greens and Te Pāti Māori governing. He's so worried and so scared for his investments that I overheard him talking about getting a fund together to knock them out. If they get back in, the property market will simply tank, he said. So watch the space. There could be a third-party player at the next election, a bit like the Brethren, so much at stake. But do get ready for more polls, and let's hope the question changes to reflect what really happens under MMP. Coalitions govern, not individual parties. Coalitions. You've got to put a coalition together. Surely we know that. But surely the pollsters could have that question in there. And which coalition partner do you prefer? We need to give voters the full question and the full picture. If an election were held today, would you support a Labour-led coalition supported by the Greens and Te Pāti Māori, or do you support a national-led government supported by ACT and New Zealand First? There's your question. And until this question is put clearly in front of the people, these poll results are worthless, I reckon, and they don't tell us much. Right now, we ask, who would you vote for, National or Labour? And the list goes on. But it tells us nothing reliable, because we need coalitions. Apart from Jacinda Ardern's second term, no party's had a majority government since MMP began in 1996. I got that wrong about Jacinda too. I said she wouldn't get there. And that cost me, I became a vegan for 3 months, you may remember. Didn't go well. We should be asking about which coalition block or grouping that voters support. We're failing to lump the parties into coalition groupings, which is how MMP governments are put together. And once you remind people of the various options, their vote may just change. But right now we're asking the wrong question. And I'd argue once you lump Labour with the Greens and Te Pāti Māori, or Hipkins with the Greens and Te Pāti Māori, he might not be so popular. What do you think? Right, let's go.
Editor-in-Chief with Duncan Garner.
Okay, Aurora is the company that provides the massive security operation across supermarkets and retail chains right throughout New Zealand and the world. They are the ones who have developed the technology to combat retail crime, to identify the thieves and to shut them down before they pinch the goods, or certainly to identify them once they're in the shops. They have also brought in or bringing in the facial recognition technology, which is slightly controversial. It's a massive industry. This company has done so well. Kiwi guys set up here, initially with 4 supermarkets in West Auckland, and now they have taken on the world, and they've got clients all around the world, in continents and countries and far-flung. They've been hugely successful. And tonight I'll ask them the question, how much retail crime is there in New Zealand? What's thought to be a $1 billion figure? My belief is it's gone up hugely and may well be sitting at around somewhere between $2 and $3 billion of retail theft each year in this country. And that is passed on to us, and it costs New Zealanders $1,000 a year. Each and every New Zealander will fork out $1,000 a year they don't even realise they're doing, because that will cover the cost of that crime. Crime hurts. 30% of all theft in New Zealand involves aggression, and there are 35% more incidents year on year. This company has stopped 1.3 million incidents from occurring using its technology. What does the future hold? It's a remarkable company, and we should celebrate their success. Phil Thomson is with us. Phil, g'day, nice to see you, mate.
Great to be here again.
Yeah, when was it? How long ago did we speak? Would have been
2023.
2023, so
2 years ago.
Yeah. Okay, and so well done too. Congratulations. The growth of your company is
Thank you.
probably double what it was when we last talked.
Yeah, a little bit over double now.
Yeah.
Yep.
And what's the market saying? What's happening?
Well, it's good and it's bad.
Yeah.
I think globally you're seeing retail crime being a big thing, both in stores and retail stores, in the media as well, and through technology. So there's a lot that's been going on there. And for us, it's around how do we take that innovation we've been doing so well here in New Zealand and take it to the rest of the world.
Retail crime has always been a thing, but in the last few years, it's been quite visible for New Zealanders and for people around the world. Why do you think that is?
There's a couple of reasons. I mean, so we've been doing this for 13 years now, right? And one of the big changes I've seen is it used to be quite covert. And I say that in the sense of people used to steal and try and get away with it subtly. You know, they'd hide things in their jackets or in their backpacks.
Yeah, down their pants.
Yep. These days, they grab it, they walk out of a store, they pull the fingers, you know, they'll tell you they're stealing from you. They don't really care.
Well, they push out trolleys full of stuff.
Yeah. Yep, in full view of everyone.
So when did it become so brazen? Because that's what it is. It's brazen, it's aggressive, it's hostile.
Yeah.
And that's been around for only a few years. I don't think we saw it before.
3 or 4 years. It's like, it's probably the post-COVID era.
Yeah.
But it also links into things like, again, for good reason, health and safety legislation, making it very visible presence around change in process. So,
Yes.
you know, you shouldn't be either grabbing a person, or if someone gets punched in the face, like that's a bad outcome for the company and for directors.
So they have to protect their staff. So the best thing for staff is to be hands off.
Yeah, which is good for the staff.
But the crooks know this, right? And
they exploit it.
Oh, they love it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a free walk in and a free walk out, and take what you like.
Yeah.
Which must be frustrating. So that's where you get involved.
It is, and then also I think people are starting to understand the link between retail crime and, I'd say, general society. Like if you look at what happened in the US, where the more that people stole visibly, the more that other people went, oh, well, I can do that as well.
Yes, it
and
enables.
it's like a decline of
Standards.
civility in that as well. So it's been quite an obvious change in the last couple of years. And then the big part that's coming with that is violence. Like
so
they're
that's
threatening.
That's in 20% of all theft, isn't it? Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I think it's 1 in 10 shoplifting events include some sort of violence now.
What, a threat of it or the violent act?
Either or.
Yeah. Well, and we've seen that in jewellery stores here. We've seen that in all sorts of things. And I know of stores here where there've been 8 women working in the jewellery store, and 8 of them left their jobs the next day.
Yeah.
You know, so it has huge consequences, this sort of stuff.
And that's the big thing when you, again, just zoom out a second and go, well, what does retail mean for us as a community or as a society? It's often the first place someone gets a job, right, as a 16-year-old.
Yeah.
Often your first job's in retail. For some people, it's their full-time job for life. It could be their last job. It is
It's where we see our friends and we see our neighbours and we say g'day.
Yeah.
It's a community thing, isn't it?
Exactly. But then also when you think about, well, you know, if we're spending our money in these stores, that's also generating the economy. And when you don't feel safe shopping in a store or working in a store, that has impact as well. Or if you're a retailer, you have to close stores down because it's so bad, suddenly everyone loses out.
Well, I think we've seen that in retail. I think we've seen people, certainly when I go out, and I sometimes go out a bit later at night to do things, places are empty. Like once it gets dark, and especially through this winter, people won't go out.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that's because of that sort of deemed threat of violence, or that, the incident, because people have seen it now in front of them,
Part of if you don't feel safe,
Yeah.
and like nighttime's one thing, if you don't feel safe in the daytime in a major city,
Yeah, there's a problem.
that's a big
Well,
problem.
we've been through that here.
Yeah,
we've had that here.
and we still are, and
Yeah.
and this is the same right across the world.
Yeah. So in terms of what you're doing in the supermarkets now, explain to me how it operates as much as you can.
Yeah, so I think our core focus when we started the company was around how do you make the visibility of retail crime a thing for the retailer and for police, and that was all about making it really easy and smart just to report what someone's seen in a store. So after events happened, someone's pushed a trolley load of meat back out the front door.
Yep.
How do they record that information, and how do they have the evidence that's captured as well?
Yep.
And then how do they report that through to the police? And making that whole process end to end really simple and easy.
And then you share it around the stores.
Yeah, so within that store chain, again, these organised offenders are going store to store
Yes.
every day.
So it's almost like, watch out, he's coming.
Correct, and it's
Yeah.
also, you start to get the bigger understanding of, 10% of people doing 60% of the crime.
Wow.
And so when shoplifting used to be seen as very much a minor crime,
Or
someone
opportunistic.
taking opportunistic,
Yeah.
actually it's been proven that these people are doing this often as a full-time job. It's linked into more organised crime. They use violence with it. And it's big money. Like, we're
Yeah.
talking about people who are doing $100,000 plus a year.
Yeah, we've taken it too lightly for too long.
We have. And therefore you actually end up with another thing post-COVID. You end up with more serious criminals and with a violent past moving into retail crime because it's easy. And
Yeah.
if you do get caught, nothing happens.
Well, they know that you won't get caught. They know that you won't get stopped.
Yep.
At
So
the
I think the stat out of the US was they get caught 1 in every 48 times they steal.
Oh, it's worth it, isn't it?
Yeah.
So what you're doing is then you can play a prevention role with your technology, with your systems, with your processes, because you sell these to the supermarkets, and so they have the systems, and therefore they are ahead of hopefully ahead of the game.
Yeah, so initially it's around how do they understand what's actually going on. So
I bet you they've been surprised at how phenomenally big it is.
Yes, and that's they've seen, they used to think it was sort of 20 to 30% of their loss was related to crime. They now know it's more than 2/3 of that loss.
Really?
And again, we as the consumer pay more for our goods because, one, we pay for the goods that don't get sold, they get stolen. And secondly, we pay for the target hardening, which is the cameras, the barriers,
That's huge.
everything else. And
Yeah.
when you go, I've been in the US quite a bit this year, and most stores, everything is locked up behind plexiglass. So if you want
Wow.
to buy washing powder, here's the new innovation, Duncan, in the US. You get to put your phone number into a case that sends you a code. You can then put that code into the case to get your washing powder or your toothbrush.
That's how bad it is.
Yeah. And so,
Do you think that will come here?
well, that's what I'm worried about, just as a general citizen shopping day to day.
Yeah,
And that's what we're trying to stop.
Well, it's already happening actually. You've seen things like honey, top end honey products, and some of the stuff in the supermarkets locked away.
Yep.
Some of the electric stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
But in some of these stores, everything
Everything.
is locked away.
Wow.
And so as a shopper, it is a terrible experience.
You have
Yeah.
to go to lockers to get
Yep.
things.
So then what do? You either go buy online or you don't buy the product, and then that has an impact on the community, on the economy.
Well, it slows it all down.
Yeah.
And people don't spend as much.
No.
Because you literally can't spend as much if there's barriers.
Well, I'll tell you, again, they did some research on this. There was a 26% reduction in sales.
Yeah, there we go. Well, that will affect your GDP growth because money, for an economy to work, money goes around.
Yeah.
Facial recognition, where's that at?
Yeah, good question. So one of the things that we've done this year, we launched a new mission, which we call 50 and 5.
Yeah.
So how do we reduce violent retail crime by 50% in the next 5 years? Because
It's ambitious.
it is ambitious, but I think it's doable.
Yeah.
One of the core tenets of that is what technology can be used to help with that. And I think there's been a lot of talk this year, in particular in the media, around facial recognition.
Yeah.
There's been some very public pilots in New Zealand, not with our tech, but with facial recognition more generally.
I think people need to understand too. A lot of people say it's controversial. Yeah. I'm less of that because it's been around our airports, it's casinos, Sky City. It's in more places than people know.
Yeah, and that's what we looked at. So, I mean, I've been following facial rec technology for 10 years.
Yep.
And over that course, so much has changed. And it was only 3 years ago, I was warning our retail customers and said, don't use it. It's not accurate enough.
Yeah.
All right.
But it is now.
Fast forward to today, we're now saying actually we think facial recognition is a key part of stopping crime and stopping harm in stores.
How will it work?
Well, for us, what we're looking at is actually more than – there's lots of facial recognition providers out there these days, right? And that's one part of it, which is just how do you match your face? We look at it as like an end-to-end solution of going, well, how do you make sure that the high harm offenders are the ones that are being matched upon? How do you make sure that your general everyday shopper, their data is not collected?
Correct, and they can walk through every day.
Exactly, and there's no impact on them. And then lastly, how do you actually provide the right information or intelligence to the people who might have to interact with these people, right? So it's like, how do you know that the person's carried a weapon in the past or that they've, again...
Well, first of all, how can you guarantee that you got it right? You
Yeah.
know? So that's much better now as accuracy-wise.
So in terms of accuracy, I spoke to a store that was using facial recognition a couple of years back, and they were ecstatic that they were getting 1 in every 2 alerts was right. And I talked to the security guard.
I bet you want 1 in every 1 right.
Well, I talked to the security guard, and he just says, well, it's great because like I'm stopping bad people 1 in every 2 times. Half the time it works. And I said that's a really bad outcome for everyone else.
Bad outcome,
right?
yeah. Well,
what we're seeing
the poor
now,
guy who's done nothing wrong.
Yeah, what we're seeing now with this tech, it's 1 in 100,000 alerts are wrong.
Yeah, that's where you want to be.
And so, like, the accuracy now is 99.9% accurate.
No, yeah.
And that's been the massive change the last 2 years. It's just actually accuracy is high, bias is low.
They'll jump at this, won't they? When it happens.
Well, I think they have to.
Yeah,
and that's
there's
the
no
other
option,
thing.
is there?
Well, there's always an option. And so every retailer's going to look at, like, is it applicable to their store
cost benefit, yep.
But when I spoke to a retail CEO here in New Zealand more recently and just sort of questioned why they're looking at technology like that. And they say, well, I have an obligation to my team and to the people that work on our shop floors every day to keep them safe.
Yeah, it's health and
if
safety.
tech's can help us with that, why wouldn't I look at that?
Well, there's legislation that forces him to do that.
100%. Yep.
You know, and which if that's how they interpret it, then everybody else might have to as well.
Yep.
With a large number of employees on the shop floor.
Yeah. So that's what we saw, just this massive change in tech and the violence being, a massive increase in violence in retail, and then every retailer globally looking at this technology in some way. We asked ourselves the question of like, how could we play a role, not building that technology itself, but how do we build the entire solution around it, around the safeguards and the guardrails to make this tech work?
Do police take it seriously enough, retail crime in this space? Because my understanding is if something's on over $300 in terms of a loss, they don't turn up.
Yeah, I think police do an amazing job, right? And again, some of the retail, they're both resource constrained, right? And retail crime is very high volume. But what you're seeing now, particularly out of the government and the commissioner,
they're targeting it,
is their focus on it because actually they're very aware, and visibility helps with that if you can solve that lowest level of the crime pyramid, the flow-on effects into the rest of crime is really important.
But I argue, is it that low level? Because we were talking earlier about this being organised gangs. A lot of stuff's being exported.
Yeah.
This is not someone who's poor who needs to feed their kids. Now, that's what we're told.
Yeah.
But I think that's a bit of a hoax.
It is a hoax once you get into it. I think it's perceived low level because on the face of it, it's an individual event worth maybe a couple $100, right? It's not linked to multiple things. And also the person who's
10 times the next day.
Exactly. But historically, people haven't seen that, understanding that pattern because it's been an individual report to one person or it hasn't been reported at all.
Yes, but you know this to be different.
So we changed that, right? So that's now the 10% of people doing 60% of the crime.
Yeah.
But
and
also
you know
people,
who they are, and you report to the supermarkets and they would be, I think, astonished at what's going on.
Yeah, but also now the retailers can work with police and say, collectively, here are the top 10 people who are causing the most harm to us.
And the cops want to help on that one.
They do, but also the cops really want to help when they go, okay, the person stealing it, that might be interesting, but where are the products going to? Your point around these products are being sent overseas. So right now, then you're looking at, well, it must be a sophisticated organisation to be able to gather all these products, pay for the products, create shipping manifests, ship things overseas in containers.
Getting them out of the country and into countries.
Fraudulently creating documents for this sort of stuff. Like that then becomes let's investigate the bigger picture, and suddenly you get the links into organised crime, gangs, guns, drugs, and
that's where it's at, is it?
100%. It's profit motivated. It's funding these things. Again,
it's highly organised, isn't it?
Yes, at the top level it is.
Who are these people?
These are groups of people. These are businesses, right? These are businesses who do this is their full-time job, and it's the dark side of entrepreneurship.
This is offshore people or here?
Both. Like to be able to ship products from here into Southeast Asia, you've got to know what you're doing.
So they've got sellers here.
Yeah, for sure. And they're buying and selling products. They're trading it for drugs. They are sending out people with shopping lists to steal. And the outcome is that we, as the community, feel the impacts of that.
Totally.
But historically, we haven't seen or understood the true nature of what's really going on.
But your technology and what your business can actually now present to the supermarkets what's going on.
Yeah, and help the police be much more effective and efficient when working with retail.
We're often told that the value of retail crime in New Zealand is $1 billion. Now, we get the figure every year. Given what I've heard today and given what we know, it's probably more than that now, isn't it?
Yeah, so the latest figures I saw, it was just over $1 billion of actual loss. There's more than $1 to $1.5 billion spent on trying to stop more loss. So suddenly you're looking at $2.5 billion of cost.
Yeah.
And then that's not including the flow-on effects to the rest of the economy as well.
No, so $2.5 billion is now a figure, and that gets passed on, doesn't it?
Yeah, so every household's paying more than $1,000 a year in groceries, like on top of what they
as a penalty to cover the costs.
Yeah, because it's not insured. You don't steal $100 and they go to the insurance and get a claim, right? They put their costs up by 2%.
Yeah, I think this is a fascinating discussion that New Zealanders would only just be getting their heads around, because it's one of those things that's been out of sight, out of mind, really.
Yeah.
You know, people might see it, but see a bit of retail theft, or they might hear about it, but it's kind of under the radar anyways. It's in people's back pockets.
It has been. I think that's changed just with the prevalence of it. One, there's more media coverage, I think.
Totally.
But then secondly, people are seeing it in their local supermarket and going, oh, I didn't realise that happened in my supermarket.
But that's naivety, isn't it?
Well, people just haven't seen it. And also, I think majority of people, 99% of people are good, and they believe the rest of the world is like them. So why wouldn't you not do it?
Yeah. How many bad crooks do we have in this country, do you think? Because we almost know the people, don't we? To a point, because we say 10% are doing 60% of the business. So the police have a good idea who they are.
Yes, and that's why, again, what the police have done a great job of is actually focusing on those people who are causing the most harm to all the retailers.
How do you stop them, though? Because these things don't get long sentences. You don't really go to jail for shoplifting.
Yeah, like it's
back out the street.
It's a complex issue, right? It's like it can start as far back as if you think about like youth crime, because this is often a gateway crime.
Totally.
So you're looking at the education sector, you're looking at police, you're looking at the justice sector, but also you're looking at us as a community. Like, what are we prepared to accept? And if we are happy for people to go and steal in front of us and not do anything about it, that's a problem.
Yeah,
or
so
if
I
we
think
are
it's a
happy
problem.
to not use technology and allow it to occur, that's a problem.
I think New Zealanders were offended at what they saw.
Yeah.
I think New Zealanders were offended when they saw people walking out with trolleys and giving the bird or throwing a punch or whatever. And this is not the Kiwi way.
And I think that's only really come to light recently, particularly the recent facial recognition trial, where people were actually releasing video footage of violence in stores, whether it's
everywhere.
Foodstuffs and Bunnings, but going, I wouldn't want that to be my son or daughter working in that store at 16 years old being punched in the face, right?
No, well, because it's a genuine threat now. If you're a young person, or any person, elderly, old, because older people are now back in the market. You see, 50% of over 65s are working still.
Yep,
it's huge.
Yep, I think it's 10% of the public work in retail, and like 60% are women.
Yeah.
And to my point earlier on, in Melbourne, you're not allowed to work after 4 p.m. because it's too dangerous for women in the central city.
Yeah, I wonder if we'll get to that point.
Yeah.
Hope we don't.
Well, that's why I'm so passionate about the problem and around what tech we can use to try and solve it. Because
do you think you're solving it?
Yeah, I think we are. I think there's more to do, and I think things like facial recognition actually really helps to go back on the offensive in the right way against what's happening in our community.
So when will that be here?
I'd say this year. Like some companies are already rolling out facial recognition. Like I said earlier, our view is how do we make it a safe technology to use, and how do we put in the right processes and workflows.
But you're confident you're confident you've got the technology.
Yeah. Again, like seeing what's happening globally, this is a chance of getting ahead of what's coming down the pipe. Because you look at, again, the stats from, I'll take Australia, right? In the last 12 months, they had a 66% increase in weapons used in retail events. And so that's going to come to New Zealand if we don't do something about it.
Well, no, but it will. It will come, because it usually does. We trail a bit, but it usually...
We normally have about 6 to 12 months from Australia and about 12 to 18 months from the UK around trends.
Yeah. And so we've seen trends with knives and things like that.
We did in the UK, and we've seen that follow through into Australia, and we're starting to see that pick up now in New Zealand around edged weapons or bladed weapons, which is knives, it's screwdrivers, it's
other
box
people have said the
cutters.
same thing to me in the last couple of years. Watch the blades, watch the knives.
Yeah.
But we're not at the gun. Gangs of the guns.
Yeah, that's not as obvious here. Like, we're working in the US where that is an everyday threat. And again, you're seeing people do walk out of a store and threaten to come back and shoot the store up, right? And that's a life safety issue. Again, can you use license plate recognition or facial recognition to try and either provide an early warning or alert the person that this is someone who's previously been in your store and has threatened you?
Will we get license plate recognition in the car park so you know that someone's arrived?
Yeah, that's been in operation for the last 5 to 8 years
in New Zealand.
In New Zealand,
wow.
So again, it's used across all the petrol stations. So petrol drive-offs has reduced massively because of that.
Yeah.
And also, it actually reduces human bias, because what used to happen and what still happens today, I think, in stores without facial recognition, the attendant looks out the window and goes, "Oh, I don't like the look of that car or the person.
Yes.
I'm not going to give them petrol today," right? Or what I saw when I first started the company, you ask the security guard, "Well, what do they do in a store?" They go, "Oh, I see someone that doesn't look quite right or looks a bit dodgy. I'm going to follow them around the store."
Yeah, and that happens.
Yeah. So actually, can you use technology to reduce human bias and stop that from happening in the first place?
Well, but that will be accuracy, and that stops prejudice. Yeah. And that's why the guys pinching the meat are getting away with it, because they look like your grandfather.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also around how do we actually use technology appropriately, how do you ensure that it can't be used for profiling or categorization of what someone
this is why we need it.
Yeah.
Because
but if you remove that out of it and go, actually,
it's
it can
profiling.
only be used for crime and safety. It can't be used to provide you adverts and tracking and loyalty.
Yeah.
It can't be used if you're a good shopper that walks in, walks out, walks in again, doesn't know you've been there.
Yeah. Do you think we'll ever get rid of retail crime? It's just been around for so long. It's spiked, as we know, and it's become an industry. I reckon it's almost an industry now. Do you think we can get on top of it and pull it back somehow?
Yes, it's my life's work.
It is, isn't it? So when you retire, job done.
Yeah, or pass the baton, right? And in the sense of, I think we can see. It's why I said 50 and 5 is our thing, right? I think we can reduce violent retail crime by 50% in the next 5 years. I'm staking our company, our mission on that.
Wow.
I'm making sure that the technology we're bringing in place can help retailers do that in the right ways.
Yeah, and people will feel safer too.
Yeah, because I start to go, well, again, what does the future look like for me, for my kids, for New Zealand as a whole? And if we can get it right here, I think we can get it right in the rest of the world.
It's a shame that it's reached this point, though, where you even need a business like yours, isn't it? It's a shame that we have got to this point, and it's just a sort of this drop down in standards across society. And I know that's coming from overseas as well, but here, I think that we're a little bit naive, New Zealanders. It was a little, the innocent, New Zealand. It's no longer that, it's no longer that innocent place that you think it might be,
Yeah, and look, I've been approached before. People said, "Oh, you're profiteering from crime and society being bad." I said, "And
who said that to you?"
I get it more than you like to know. But
my final question.
I think, honestly, the reason we started the company was because we saw a problem around this and we wanted to do something about it and do something good. And in an ideal world, we wouldn't exist. This technology wouldn't exist. But it does. And the reality we live in is that retail crime in general, violence and crime is bad. So it's like we've got to have people looking at how do we try and stop this stuff. And I'm perfectly okay to go, this is my role. And this is what people want to do.
You can lie straight to bed at night. You can honestly rest easy. I mean, I don't think there'd be many people that hold that view. I think most people would be like, "It's a shame we have to have you doing this," but it's a really necessary thing.
Yeah, which I 100% agree with. Like, in an ideal world, we wouldn't need to be looking at things like facial recognition because everyone is a good, honest shopper and they go about their day.
I was attacked by this guy called the Honest Kiwi who had a real go at me because I said this is not about little people pinching things. This is about more organised than that, and being poor is not an excuse to steal. And he ripped into me, and a number of people went on his side. I got some support as well, but stealing is not okay. Like, it's immoral. It's illegal, and it's about how you're brought up, isn't it? In many ways.
Yeah. And it's also just about what are we willing to accept in the community? Because if we accept that, then what other crimes are we going to accept as well?
Yeah. Good to see you. Nice to have a good catch up and chat again.
Thanks, Duncan.
Editor-in-Chief with Duncan Garner.
Right, time for letters to the editor. And I want to bring this up. This is a rugby story, actually. And it's not really a letter to the editor. It's just something. The Herald needs to apologise. I've stuffed this up. A De La Salle rugby player was accused of kicking unconscious an Auckland Grammar boy recently in a rugby game. Now, the Herald breathlessly ran the claims, saying that De La Salle boy kicks Grammar boy in the head, right? Unconscious. So the investigation is now complete, and the judiciary was in the last 24 hours. Turns out the Grammar boy was hit accidentally from behind by his own player. The video shows this. So it's completely clear the De La Salle boy, who was blamed at the time, and it went to the judiciary and they've cleared him. It's been devastating for the boy and his family, and they have since been cleared of any wrongdoing. But the shame and loss of face for him and the school and the family has been immense. But the New Zealand Herald went to print without knowing the truth. They said that the Grammar boy was knocked unconscious by a De La Salle boot. And Miles Hogarty, the principal of De La Salle, he's furious. He's written to his school community. He wants an apology and a clarification, which I agree should be forthcoming. This is a test of the Herald's integrity. Will they be honest with the New Zealand public, or will they hide? In my view, they've got one option. It's shameful to go to print with such defamatory allegations without knowing the truth, in my view. I hope they do the right thing. Okay, that's us. Thanks for your feedback, folks, and all your support. Get in touch through our social media at Duncan Garner Podcast on TikTok and Instagram, or flick us an email. Duncan@rover.nz. To my team, thank you, guys. Big broads. Do it again tomorrow. Remember, life's no dress rehearsal. No curtain raiser. This is it. We live in one of the best places on earth, so get out and enjoy what we've got. Have a great rest of the day. Take care. Have a good evening. Ta-da.
Editor-in-Chief with Duncan Garner.